hanging in our wall here at home is the little signed, I mean, he signed millions and millions of them, but the signed certificate from the King for a life given in the First World War.
And just speaking of the King, we can see the current King, Charles III. He is just coming on to Whitehall now. There's now less than a minute to the 2-minute silence, which of course we will be observing. And I welcome Daniel Britton is with me. He is commentating on what is happening. The King has come out, as has Prince William. There's a salute from the King to the Cenotaph in Whitehall. We just have just a few seconds now, so I'm going to be quiet because we are approaching the 11th hour on Remembrance Sunday, a time for us to join the nation in remembering our fallen war heroes as we observe the 2 minutes silence. Well, that is the last post signalling the end of the 2-minute silence, and we can now see the King Daniel Britton is with me as well, and the King is laying his wreath at the Cenotaph. Daniel, perhaps you could just talk us through the next few minutes in terms of what is happening, especially for those who are listening on the radio rather than watching on talkTV.
His Majesty the King has laid the wreath on behalf of this country and the Commonwealth. The wreath handed to him by his equerry, Lieutenant Colonel Johnny Thompson, and the King himself is wearing the uniform of a Marshal of the Royal Air Force. Next, the wreath will be laid on behalf of the Queen, who is actually watching from the Foreign Office balcony, and her wreath will be laid by her equerry, Major Ollie Plunkett of the Rifles. And the Queen is the Colonel-in-Chief of the Rifles Regiment. And now the Prince of Wales is going to place his wreath at the Cenotaph.
We can see the Prince of Wales, Prince William, saluting the Cenotaph now, of course. What uniform is he wearing, Daniel?
I'm so glad you asked me that one, Peter. But I think it's one of the household cavalry ones, and I'm afraid to say I'm not going to be more accurate than that. I do apologise.
That's all right.
I can help you on this one, because the Duke of Edinburgh is wearing the uniform of the Royal Wessex Yeomanry, of which he is Colonel-in-Chief.
And the Duke of Edinburgh these days is, of course, Prince Edward,
Yes.
taking that title, of course, from his father, Prince Philip, so he has been laying his wreath as well.
And the final wreath of this group of the royal family will be laid by the Princess Royal. She's wearing the uniform of an admiral. Commander Anne Sullivan, LVO of the Royal Navy, handed her wreath.
And she is saluting the Cenotaph now, of course, as well. So those are the senior members of the royal family who have now laid their wreaths, and
other members of the royal family are watching this scene, including Her Majesty the Queen. The Princess of Wales are watching this scene from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office balcony, Peter.
Yes, indeed. I think that was equerry Captain Hopkins there, who was laying a wreath on behalf of the Duke of Kent. The Duke of Kent is very elderly now, and he is not there this year, I understand.
That's right. I mean, he's in his middle to late 80s, and actually he's still carrying out really a large number of royal engagements every year. He has kept going with remarkable ability, still helping the royal family with the many visits that they are asked to do.
We can see the King on the screen now if you're watching, and the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, is now walking up to lay his wreath, and there are quite a number of opposition leaders, of course, who will do the same thing as well. This is Rishi Sunak's, is it his second time laying a wreath as Prime Minister?
It must be his second time, and indeed it's His Majesty the King's second time that he's laid the wreath on his own behalf. There was a period when the Queen wasn't laying the wreath herself. She watched from the balcony, where he laid her wreath first, and then that was followed by his own wreath as Prince of Wales. And the Queen hardly missed this occasion ever. But there was one occasion I remember, that was in 1992. I was in Durban watching a royal tour, and the Queen laid a wreath in Durban, in South Africa, alongside Nelson Mandela.
Just to say that Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of course, His Majesty's official opposition, has just laid his wreath. He's walking back now to the line of politicians. And I think it's Stephen Flynn next, who is the SNP leader in Westminster. Yes, there he is. He's heading up to the Cenotaph. He is not the leader of the SNP, but the SNP leader in Westminster, and he is laying his wreath now. We know these people mainly from Parliament, from Prime Minister's questions, where the three men clash very often, but they are united, of course, in their respect for those who have given their lives to this country. And Stephen Flynn bowing there to the Cenotaph. Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, as the leader of the DUP, the Democratic Unionists in Northern Ireland, will be in a second. But before him is Ed Davey, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, and this is done in the strict order, of course, of the size of the parties in Parliament. So Sir Ed Davey now laying his wreath there at the Cenotaph, and they walk backwards, of course, when they have done that, just a couple of steps to pay tribute, not facing away. He's bowing now, Sir Ed Davey, and is now just walking back to the line of politicians who will be laying these wreaths and will continue to. There's quite a few people actually to lay wreaths, and the Speaker of the House of Commons will come after Sir Geoffrey Donaldson. He, of course, served in the Ulster Defence Regiment himself as a young man, and Sir Geoffrey Donaldson carrying his wreath, just walking past, of course, the King, the Princess Royal, Prince William, and others within that party, and Sir Geoffrey Donaldson laying his wreath now. Of course, Northern Ireland being an integral part of the United Kingdom, and the fourth largest party in Parliament being the Democratic Unionists with their 8 MPs. Sir Geoffrey Donaldson just bowing now to the Cenotaph and walking back to the line, and it's the Speaker of the House of Commons as well next who will lay his wreath. This is a well-established line, Daniel, but the Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, now walking up, solemn face, of course, as all of them have been, laying his wreath. And we will see the Speaker of the House of Lords, Lord McFall, John McFall. He was an MP for some time. He comes after Sir Lindsay Hoyle. And it does remind us constitutionally, of course, Daniel, that whilst the House of Commons is the lower house, supposedly, it is nonetheless the most important of the two.
It absolutely is, of course, and that because they are the democratically elected representatives of all of us. House of Lords consists nearly entirely of life peers. We're getting on for nearly 800 members of the House of Lords at the moment. 92 of those are elected amongst the hereditary peers who lost their seats in 1999, but they elect 92 of their number, plus another couple who sit as of right as hereditaries. So they're their remaining hereditary peers. But the House of Lords is enormous, only just under 800 people. You see there the Foreign Secretary laying his wreath.
And the Home Secretary beside him as well, so James Cleverly and Suella Braverman there are laying wreaths together on the Cenotaph. And of course they are, we cast aside the political controversy that Suella Braverman is involved with at the moment, of course, because this is a ceremonial and solemn duty for her to do so, to do what she is doing, as James Cleverly has been laying his wreath as well.